More than a dozen former NFL players are duking it out for a coveted gold jacket and the chance to be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. David Baker is the president and the CEO of the organization, and he joins us now from Canton, Ohio. Good to see you. So the Pro Football Hall of Fame Selection Committee has reduced a list of 130 nominees to just 15 finalists, and that number will dwindle down to 5 or less on the Saturday leading up to the Super Bowl when the class of 2021 is finally announced. Walk us through the selection process.
Yeah, Vlad and Marie, great to be with you. There have been about 330 million young men that have played this great game, now women as well. There's only 5 million that have played it in college. There's only 29,000 who have ever been paid to play it, coach it, or officiate it in the National Football League. And as of today, in this room, there's only 326 with a bronze bust. So it's an elite company. But we have a group of 48 elite selectors that are from all media specialists, and they work all year long. They get it down to 100, then they get it down to 50, and they get it down to 55, and finally to 15. And then they meet all day long to select the 5 from this modern era class, and the coach's nominee, which is Tom Flores, the contributor, which is Bill Nunn, and then also the senior, which is Drew Pearson. And they'll vote on those 8, and hopefully we'll have 8 into the Pro Football Hall of Fame for 2021. And I think it's likely to be the greatest class ever in the history of the Hall.
Listen, I don't know how you guys do it because you're always dealing with some sort of legendary big names. This year, we've got Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, both of them. It's their first year of eligibility, right? What is the likelihood of them being voted in this year?
Well, I think Peyton Manning is highly likely. Charles Woodson maybe even Calvin Johnson. All of those are great first ballot Hall of Famers. But, Anne-Marie, it doesn't matter whether you make it in your first year or, like Jerry Kramer, who had to wait 45 years. Once you're in, you're a Hall of Famer, and you're in this room forever. But I will tell you, Peyton is a guy who has a great respect for history. When Brett Favre was selected, it took 12 seconds because everybody knew he was going to be in the Hall of Fame. I think for Peyton, it may take just 10 seconds.
And then you've got guys like John Lynch, who has been a finalist for 8 consecutive years. I remember right after college, when I got out of college, I remember watching John Lynch. He went to multiple Pro Bowls. Just an all-around great player. Could he make it in? And is it common or rare for someone to be inducted after a couple of years of being denied?
If you're a finalist twice, you got an 82% chance of making it historically, according to our records. And he's been a finalist 8 times. Which means that 7 previous times I've had to call him and say, hey, I'm sorry, this isn't very good news. I hope I can call you with better news next year. I hope this is the year for John Lynch. He is not only an incredible player that changed the position, an incredible teammate, but I think he's a wonderful man and a great leader. He is the kind of guy that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He will make a great Hall of Famer. But the difficulty is, Vlad, let me tell you, it's not easy to be in the Hall of Fame. This is the toughest thing there is. This is the highest level of excellence in this game. And so, sometimes it's just splitting hairs.
Other names, Tom Flores, Bill Nunn, Drew Pearson, all being considered individually in their categories. What are they each being celebrated for?
Well, again, Tom Flores, he gets a lot of attention for being the first Hispanic coach. But really, this is not about being the first Hispanic coach. This is about being one of the greatest coaches of all times, and he is certainly that. Bill Nunn is a former reporter for the Pittsburgh Gazette, which was an African-American newspaper who became a scout for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he went around to all the historical black colleges, and he found L.C. Greenwood and Mean Joe Green and Donnie Shell and Mel Blount. And, he was the guy who found so many players that created their dynasty. He would be the first African-American contributor in the history of the Hall. And then Drew Pearson, well, all you got to say is he's the other half of the Hail Mary. But he would be there for more than that. And he's very, very deserving.
Yeah, I do hope that, guys like Drew Pearson and Sam Mills, who's an incredible linebacker. I know he's a finalist as well. I hope that they make it in, because you're right. Drew Pearson probably doesn't get as much love for being on the other side of that Hail Mary, and he absolutely should, because when you look at the highlight reels of the NFL during its sort of, silver years in the 70s and early 80s, I mean, that's the shot that you usually see.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Vlad, one of the interesting things for me is the way we notify people. They have to get 80% of the votes of those 48 guys in order to be in the Hall of Fame. 80%. Thank God Congress doesn't work that way. But that 80% is a significant bar. And then we go around and knock on their door. And I'll tell you, when I knock on their door, they're not thinking about how much money they made or their Pro Bowls. Maybe even not their big plays. But I know when I get the chance to knock on the door of a guy like Drew Pearson, he's thinking about his journey, about when he was a 13-year-old kid and started, and he never dreamed about being in the Hall of Fame. He just wanted to make the high school team, and then he wanted to make the college team. And it's all about their journey. It's about their mom, their dad, their coach, their teammates that help them get there. And it's a wonderful legacy. And our promise to them is that we will keep their legacy forever here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm told this bronze bust lasts for 40,000 years, and we will keep their legacy at least that long.
David, that is so fascinating to me, because, I was thinking to myself, oh, these guys, they got fame, they got fortune, they spent a whole lifetime doing what they love. I mean, what's another title? But when you talk about knocking on their door, and then it goes all the way back to like the original love of the game, before they ever knew that they would ever be able to become wealthy and famous by doing it. Like, that's what the gift is that you're giving back to them by putting them in the Hall of Fame. That is so touching.
Yeah. Anne-Marie, let me just say, since you mentioned it, you mentioned Peyton Manning and what a lock he is on the Hall of Fame. But when I knocked on Brett Favre's door, it was the same way. It took him 12 seconds to be in the Hall. And when I told him he was one of the 302 best players, coaches, and contributors in the history of this game, he stuck his hands in his pocket like a little kid, and then he hung his head down in humility, because I think he knew the shoulders of those he was standing upon and he was with. And then we take him over to the honor show, which this year will be on CBS the night before the Super Bowl. And, afterwards, our guys in the audience come up and shake hands with them. And afterwards, we have a press conference, and I'm talking to Brett, and I said, hey, how you doing? And he says, are you kidding? I just shook the hand of Roger Staubach. And I would have thought they'd played golf together and met along the way. And he said, you don't understand. All my life, I dreamed of being Roger Staubach. And he said, I guess I'm on his team now, right? And I said, forever. And this is Brett Favre saying this. Every one of them has a dream. And this is about being recognized as being the best. And we all think as fans that they fell out of bed great, and they are great. But they had to overcome adversity. It was not just because they were bigger, quicker, faster, stronger. It was because they have the heart of a Hall of Famer and overcame so many challenges and adversities to get to this room.
Yeah.
I'm
really
David, you're giving me chills. You're giving me chills. I think it's fantastic.
I really do hope that Mr. Clutch makes it in. That Hail Mary you mentioned Roger Staubach, from Roger Staubach to Drew Pearson in 1975. I mean, as a little kid, I mean, it was everything. So I really hope he makes it.
Well, he's a great guy, Vlad. One quick story there. When he got a tryout with the Cowboys, Gil Brandt gave him $50. Can you believe that? $50.
Wow.
They did get him a job where he worked at a loading dock, loading trucks every day. And he would come home and he'd sit on the balcony of his apartment, and he noticed that Roger Staubach would drive by to go work out at a high school close by. So he would go back every day after loading these trucks, exhausted, and he would watch for Roger to come, and then he would go to that park and run pass patterns so that Roger could throw to him. They became this incredible tandem. And by the way, they gave him a raise of $500 after that. But that's how he made the team. And when I was talking to him, those are the kind of stories that these guys tell. They are heartfelt, they are sincere, and I really believe it's not about the worship of football heroes or even the great entertainment of the game of football. But if we learn from those stories, then maybe we can be better dads or moms or better companies or a better community, and maybe right now even a better nation.
So true. Life lessons through sport. David Baker, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. We will reveal these guys on the Honor Show on 8 o'clock on February 6th, the night before the Super Bowl.